guys, it's Adam from Lucid Pixel and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about social media, a topic that is by no means foreign to this channel. I've spoken about it numerous times in the past, but I want to speak more specifically today on how to manage it. More specifically, how to manage it at different stages in your career, at different stages of growth. Because it wouldn't be fair of me to say that the way I approach social media and the way I manage it today in my own life is it all the same way I did when I was earlier on in my career. Because as your platform evolves, so do you. And more often than not, unless you're working with a team of people, which we usually aren't, we usually work alone, then you quickly start to realize that if you want to continue managing it the same way, it comes at a huge sacrifice to your productivity. And that's kind of the main focus of today. It's how it affects your productivity and how to manage that. How to remain a productive artist while still within reasonable boundaries, keeping on top of things online. There's a reality we have to face. Some people can consider it an unfortunate reality. I do to a certain degree, but it's a reality nonetheless. And that's the fact that if you want to find success nowadays, if you want to reach out, if you want to build a business, if you want to make a name for yourself, the modern world is on social media. It's just the way it is. The reach that you have is substantially different if you're in a gallery showing off your work, or if you're online showing off your work. You just have more reach. More people will engage in your work. So, depending on the type of artist that you want to be, if you want to grow a name for yourself, if you want to find a larger audience, that's probably the way you want to go about it. But not all artists feel that way. In fact, there's a very large number of artists that just like to do their own thing. They don't necessarily want to build a name for themselves. They don't want to be popular online. They just want to create art for the joy of creating art. I have a lovely amount of respect for people like that. Confided you can sustain yourself financially, right? Because there's the two sides of your life. There's the creative, there's the expressive, but there's also you want to pay your bills. It's very difficult to be happy if you've got bill collectors chasing after you, which I'm sure is something that all of us are familiar with either now or at least at some point in their life, right? So there's a healthy perspective you need to take, a realistic perspective. However, because social media is such a powerful tool and such a popular tool nowadays, it is subject to abuse. Abuse by the creators, abuse by the algorithm. And if that abuse isn't controlled, if it isn't recognized, then you fall down a rabbit hole that doesn't benefit you. It benefits the platform. It benefits the app developers. It benefits the advertisers on these channels, not you. And this is something I've spoken about quite a bit in the past in earlier talks that you can go and check out on my channel. So the first thing I want to talk about, the first main facet of social media, and this is something that I realized very early on in my career, something that overwhelmed me very quickly, was picking specific social medias. Handpick a limited number of social media of different platforms that you want to advertise your work on. And the reason I'm saying this is because early on in my career, my belief was that if I threw as many hooks into the water as I can, which is kind of an analogy that reminds me of Bobby Chew's book, Perfect Bait. Great book, by the way. Sorry for the tangent, but it's a good book. So go check it out if you can. But you have a very beginner perspective very often on growth is throwing as many lures into the water as humanly possible and hoping something catches. And as you gain more experience professionally and as you gain more experience artistically, you start to realize that it's not about the number of lures in the water. You can throw 1,000 lures in the water and catch nothing. It's more about being targeted and focused. It's about having a limited number of lures in the water, but making sure that they're rock solid, making sure that they reach out to the right audience, make sure that they have the best reach possible. So instead of focusing on quantity, you're focusing on quality, which in my opinion, and if you've followed my channel for any length of time, is a philosophy that I adhere to quite a bit. I've always been a big advocate for taking your time and producing something of quality rather than trying to pump out as many units as you can. Okay? So that first aspect, that first element of social media is not trying to post everywhere. And instead finding platforms that are both valuable to you, that have a good reach, but not too much. And what I mean by too much is every single app I've ever known, if you start to notice the trends, apps launch, some kick off and become really popular. The early adopters usually tend to thrive a little bit more if they jump on it quickly. And then, sooner than later, that platform gets saturated, way too oversaturated. And as a result, you just end up feeling like you're throwing your piece on top of a huge pile of rice. You're one little grain of rice on top of a huge pile of them. And at that point, the chance of you being noticed, the chance of you reaching out and achieving a substantial and loyal audience gets smaller and smaller. It's just the reality of it. PewDiePie said it himself, had he started his channel 5-6 years after he did, he wouldn't have reached where he is now. He just happened to be one of those early adopters that caught on to something through talent and a little bit of luck early on in the game, and things picked up. Does that mean that I'm saying that you're a grain of rice on a huge pile of rice? No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is understand what you're dealing with. If you're trying to force yourself, push yourself to get on top of a pile, and I'm calling that the kind of popularity pile, which I completely can't stand. That shouldn't be what motivates you artistically. But if you're trying to gain popularity online and you are on a platform that is saturated with artists, obviously just being another artist in the pile is not going to get you attention. So what will? Well, it's focusing on quality. It's producing artwork that you've put some thought into, that you've put your back into, you've put all of your talent into, you've put a lot of passion into it. You've made sure to go from corner to corner in your canvas and making sure that you've given some thought and effort into everything that you do. It's not sloppy work, it's thoughtful work. Maybe consider having some kind of a narrative associated to your work so it has a little bit more of an emotional or social connection to it, something that's recognizable. You don't need 50,000 works of art to attract attention. You need a couple of good ones. You need a couple of strong pieces of art that get people's attention. And sometimes a person can be recognized off of a single work of art. This happens all the time. I remember the first time I was on Facebook and Carla Ortiz had posted something about Walter Everett. I had never heard of Walter Everett. You perhaps have never heard of Walter Everett either. But I looked at this work of art and I went, holy smokes, this is amazing. Like, wow. It was a black and white piece that I share with my students all the time of a nun, a whole field of nuns, and there's this little girl who's sitting down on the left side of the painting. And as your eyes start to scatter through the painting, you start to notice all of these hidden figures behind the branches. And I remember looking at this and going, wow, that is well done. Not only artistically, but academically strong piece of work. And what did I do? Well, I went out and started looking up Walter Everett. Now, did I notice Walter Everett because he popped up on every single social media? No. I noticed it, and I didn't even notice it because Carla posted it. I noticed the art before I noticed who posted the piece. But it was that one piece that was the hook. It was a really good hook that grabbed me and pulled me in. Now, if you're an artist who's newer to the game, if you've just started your artistic journey and you haven't gained that much experience, you haven't mastered those fundamentals yet, and you haven't built yourself up and developed a style necessarily, well, then just be patient. These artists have spent many years training their art, dealing with the goods and the bads, maybe finding some popularity and wealth, and then other days being completely piss poor. That's a part of the game. And it's a fun part of the game. And when I look back at my career when nobody knew who I was and nobody gave a shit what I produced, do I look back at those years and go, oh, thank God that's over? No. I look back at my career as a series of experiences that were good and bad, exciting and boring. And I just kept pushing through it because it was something I cared about. And that's where passion comes in. That's why I keep alluding back to passion in art. Because when you push aside all the technicality and the training and the fundamentals and the practice and everything like that, the thing that sustains you is passion. And when you're passionate about something, then every tiny little growth, every tiny little achievement feels wonderful. It feels wonderful every single time you achieve something. So just revel in the moment, enjoy your work, keep going. If you're passionate about it and you keep pushing forward and you keep aiming for quality, you will find a lot of success. And one day you're going to post a piece of artwork that you're really proud of, or maybe not even, but somehow, for some reason, that piece really, really grabs a lot of attention. And all of a sudden people start talking about you and the word starts getting spread around you. And before you know it, you have people reaching out to you and letting you know what wonderful work you produced. And that's when you know that, well, for starters, that the patience you had for yourself, the perseverance you had, pushing through the hard times, always focusing on quality, building your character and building your resilience to disappointment, and handling success as well, like a champ. By the time you get that kind of recognition, you've earned it, and you feel a sense of pride in it. It wasn't handed to you like a lottery ticket. You earned it through hard work and through passion. So what my main piece of advice here is, number one, don't spread yourself out too thin. Don't try to update yourself on every single platform. And the reason being is, that's going to eat up on all of that precious time that you need to produce quality. Quality takes time. Quality requires focus. Quality requires you to sit down, think, ponder, experiment, fail, succeed, grow, evolve. That takes time. So if you're trying to rush out a painting, some piece of art, just for the sake of posting it every single day, because the Instagram or the ArtStation algorithm encourages you to post daily, don't fall for that trap. That only pleases the advertisers. That does not please you. And besides, a good piece of artwork will get a lot of attention. It'll get a lot of love, and that will in and of itself boost the algorithm. Now, the second and last point that I want to make today is reaching out to people, messaging, corresponding with other people, replying to people who reach out to you. This, to me, is an incredibly important way to show other people the appreciation that they show you. When you leave comments for me in the YouTube comments below, or if you reach out to me in person in social media, that to me is precious. That to me means that I shared something with you that touched you in such a way that you felt the need to voice it. Because there are thousands and thousands of people who might look at your stuff that don't necessarily say anything. So remember that every single time somebody reaches out to you to say something nice, to give you a word of encouragement, or to offer you some constructive feedback, they're going out of their way. They're using their time to share a thought with you. And that is not something to be taken for granted, and something that I've always felt was extremely precious. But that said, the more you start to make a name for yourself, the more your channel grows, the more people reply, the more feedback you get from people, the more you need to manage that. And the reason I'm saying this is because at the beginning of a career, you might not have that many people who comment on your stuff. So every single person who comments on your stuff is a very big deal. It's the first time you've had that kind of interaction. So you want to get back, and you can get back. You have the time to reply to the 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 people. But you can see how quickly that number escalates. And by the time it gets to 15, 20, 25, 30, 50, 100, or whatever crazy number social media can throw at you sometimes, you get overwhelmed very quickly. And you realize at a certain point, you just can't manage replying to every single person substantially the way they might reply to you, and still allow yourself the time you need to grow artistically. It's just not manageable. However, these platforms have this wonderful feature. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, ArtStation, YouTube, they have this wonderful feature that allows people to share their thoughts and feelings on what you've done. And that is one of the main reasons why social media exists, is that the creator can communicate directly with their audience. But I remember I've been watching a lot of John Mayer's videos. I love his music, and I love the guy. I think he's amazing. Despite that whole Playboy article controversy thing that happened years ago, I still think he's an amazing artist, and I very much value what he says. And he was talking about how his career had to change at a certain point, where a lot of his early audience, a lot of his early fans, probably got a bit disappointed with him when he changed his tone and when he got really big really fast, and all of a sudden he started winning Grammys all over the place, and he became a world famous artist. How his platform had to change, and how it disappointed people that he couldn't hang out with his audience after a gig and chat with them. He just couldn't, because his audience wasn't an audience of 50 people. His audience became audiences of tens of thousands of people. And he had another show 2 days later that he had to prepare for, and he was jumping in a plane every day. He didn't have time to hang out with everybody. So the dynamic of your career starts to change, and your ability to interact with other people, even with assistants, even with people who handle social media and people who handle editing. The more you grow as a channel, the more your ability to handle all of these logistics on your own just becomes impossible if your intention is to continue to produce the art that appealed to your audience in the first place. So here's my advice. Early on in your career, when you're first starting your career, you might have the time, you might have the lifestyle, and you might have the energy to be able to reply to everybody who replies to you. But I recommend, even though you have all of this ample time, don't, again, spread yourself out too thin. Don't reply to every single comment on every single platform. Because what you do, by doing that, you're setting a precedent for your audience. The more you reply on a certain social media, the more your audience is going to go, oh, she replies on that social media. Let's contact her there. You start to condition that platform, and you start to condition your audience to reaching out to you in that way. And then if you do that on ArtStation, and you do it on Instagram, and you do it on Twitter, and you do it on Facebook, and you do it on any other different platform that you're on, all of a sudden you realize that you've got people contacting you everywhere all the time. And before you know it, and you don't have to be a megastar like John Mayer to experience this, very, very soon you start to realize, holy shit, I can't keep up with all of this. This is overwhelming. This is too much. And you realize you've spent your entire day replying to people, getting no work done. You might be very productive socially, but you're not being productive creatively. And remember, there's a crossover when it comes to producing art. Being productive and being creative overlap. It's not like you're a lawyer and you're productive and you do your law work and then you do something creative to unwind at the end of the day and work on your social media. No, these two things are happening in tandem. So your social media feed is not just a picture of your tortilla bowl. Your social media feed usually consists of paintings that took you days or weeks or even months to produce. So you have to allow yourself the time to be able to manage that. Does that mean ignoring your audience and saying screw these people and not replying? It means managing your time. So the way that I do that, because I do have my artwork on multiple different platforms, I predominantly focus on one social media, YouTube. I also post semi-regularly on Instagram. So my Instagram is my kind of 0.5. My ArtStation, which is what I feel another very important platform as well, I only update periodically, like maybe 2 to 3 times a year, to be completely honest with you. I just dumped a whole bunch of my artwork on ArtStation. I hadn't updated anything I had about 7 or 8 pieces of art that I updated. That's a lot of work that I updated on ArtStation, because I'm not the kind of artist that can do a painting a day. I usually take at least, in real time, it usually takes me about a full week to produce a single piece of artwork. So I can't update that regularly. But YouTube is my main platform. So whenever I have a little break, I'm sitting down having a coffee, I'm waiting in line somewhere at a store, or anytime I have a free moment, that's when I jump on my YouTube app and I look at the comments and I try to reply. I always try my best to reply to every comment. Sometimes comments can be extremely long. Those ones I usually put aside until later, till I have a little bit more time. And that's why sometimes it takes longer for me to get back to those ones. But I always want everybody to know that they're acknowledged. But even with a single platform like YouTube, it's a lot. And remember, I don't have a team. I don't have a secretary working with me. I don't have an editor yet. I'm probably going to be doing that soon. But I haven't delegated any of my work to anybody else yet. I do everything on my own, from the filming to the reviews to the research to the art to the recordings to everything. That's a lot of work. And that doesn't include my full-time teaching job, and the fact that I'm a dad, and the fact that I pulled my pool, my old destroyed 20-year-old pool apart and had to take 6 trips to the eco center to dump a bunch of plastic and styrofoam. And I had to cook dinners. And I take care of my kitty cat, and I do a lot of other things, and I hang out with my kids and watch Paw Patrol. So it's very important for me not to overwhelm myself with one single task. So the way I manage it is, I do it on my off time, or I allow myself 30 minutes a day before I start my main day of work to quickly scan through comments, any kind of writing back to people I usually do within 30 minutes. And then after that, I jump on my work, I jump on my art, I jump on my videos because I have to. Because to me, it's the content that I create that matters most, because that is what I'm reaching out to you with, right? So if I spend all my time replying to comments, then I can't produce the very artwork that got you to write me those absolutely lovely messages in the first place. And trust me, I love them. I think you honestly are the most encouraging community, the most kind-hearted community anybody could ever wish for. So it is my honor and my pleasure to let you know how I feel that way. And to all of you who might leave a comment in this video below, rest assured that even if it takes me a little while to get back to you, you are in my heart, and everything that you share is precious to me. So with that said, I love you all with all my heart, and happy painting. Take care.